Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah and today we're looking at the first piece of cable jargon that you'll like to come across when you start cabling. That is C4B. Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah. I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you learn to knit the easy way. And we're talking cable knitting again today. If you weren't here last week, then do go and have a look at the last video as well. That was just talking about what knitting skills you need before you start cabling and the first tool, actual practical thing you'll need as well when you start cabling. So I've got the first demo for you today, that is cable knitting C4B. Now I do want to tell you something first, and that is that when you are coming across cable patterns, you will not only come across C4B, but you very will likely at some point will come across CB4 as well. Those two last digits can get switched around sometimes. I know I've written knitting patterns and I've used both. That's just because sometimes I forget which way around it goes. And even now I have to think now, which way does it go? But there's always a number and it's usually back or front, so that's B or F. The C suggests that it's cabling, so just be aware of that when you're coming across these patterns. C will mean that you're cabling something, the number will tell you how many stitches you're cabling across, and B or F will tell you front or back. Do stick around until the end. I've got a free pattern for you and I've got an email sequence as well that will help you figure out how to finish off your pattern really nicely once it's off of the needles. Let's go look at that demo now. So this pattern gives us two cables sitting right down the middle here, and I'm right on the row where I have to do the cabling. So C4B is what we are expecting right here. Okay, so I've just reached the cable. What I need to do now is pick up my cable needle, and 4 is talking about the number of stitches over which the cabling happens. So we have to divide that by 2. 4 divided by 2 is indeed 2. So we have the cable needle going into the first 2 stitches. So that's what the 4 indicates. It's telling you how many stitches you're cabling over, which means that you put half of them onto the cable needle. The B is telling you to put them backwards. So you hold that cable needle to the back of your work while you knit the next 2 stitches. Can feel a bit awkward sometimes, but that's fine. And then what you can do is knit straight from the cable needle, or if you prefer, you can put them back onto the needle that you were knitting from in the first place. But that might feel easier if you're not used to holding three needles at once. So then we can just knit straight from the knitting needle. There you go. So that is your C4B, and you really see the effect of it in a couple of rows' time once it's had a chance to just sit in between plain rows. So now I'm going to just purl. This is what we usually have in cabling. We usually have purl rows, purl stitches in between the cables so that it emphasises the shadows. It emphasises the cabling as more important. Okay, I'm going to do this again. Now what you can do is actually use a spare knitting needle. If you don't have a cable needle yet, then a spare knitting needle is perfectly valid. You can do this. Then you can knit the 2 needles, the 2 stitches sitting on the needle. And then you can put these 2 stitches back on the original needle. Just slipping them on, it's slipping them off. That's it, it's that simple. And then knit the next 2 stitches. So there you go. That is your C4B. You have cabled over 4 stitches and you've held the stitches to the back while you're cabling. Now, so that is your C4B, and you can see it in its full extent there. And this is one that I finished yesterday. There we go, that's upside down. So that's that. And this I'm going to use as a teapot stand. When I have friends over, I can put a stack of plates on it but while we're Well, we're having our British scones. So actually I'm going to make a few of these, and I'm really looking forward to using them just around, like I say, when I've got friends over or when I'm having a pot of tea or something. And it is a very easy way to just practice doing the cabling. There you go. So C4B. That was simpler than it sounds, wasn't it? Great, so you can now C4B, and of course, like I said before, it could come across in a pattern that it's CB4 as well, but it means the same thing. Cabling is the C, and then back or front is a B or an F, and then the number is the number of stitches over which you're cabling. So if you'd like to have a look at the pattern that I was knitting up there, you can find that here. This is the finished one. You can find that in the description below. Do go and click on that, and you can sign up to get the pattern. Now, when you've finished knitting, it will look a bit like this, kind of squashed. So I will also send you a video on how you can create an actual flat piece like this. It will look really lovely once it's finished. Once you go through the final process, it will look even better. Great. Thank you so much for joining me today. Do join me next week. I'll be talking about which yarns are better for cabling. Somewhat yarns will mean that the cables stand out really well. Others will just mean that they're kind of hidden, so they're not really seen as well. So I'll show you next week which yarns are better, and then you can really start selecting your yarn with a bit more expertise as you go to the yarn shop as well, and you'll know which yarns will work better with which patterns. Right, thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you for that next week. Do subscribe and click on the bell as well for notifications. That will mean that YouTube lets you know that the next video is ready and waiting for you. I will see you for that next week. Bye for now. Happy knitting.